of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable, episode 16, Let's Go Hunting. In this episode, Josuke and Jotaro are hunting the very first animal stand user introduced in part 4. And what is this animal? A rat. Yeah, that's pretty much the entire episode really. Josuke and Jotaro hunting a rat stand user. Akira confessed that he used the bow and arrow when he got it on a rat. Yeah, he shot a rat for some reason, which we don't know why, and that rat survived and obtained a stand. So Josuke and Jotaro have to find this rat and kill it, otherwise it would do some serious damage on anything and anyone it could come in contact with it. But before that, Jotaro lets Josuke know that they're going to use ball bearings to attack the rat. Since their stands are close range types, there's no way that they could get very close to the rat since it would probably escape. So they go to this canal with a nearby drainage pipe and they set up traps knowing that this is where the rats would be. However, while they were setting up traps, Josuke discovers something shocking and pretty disgusting. There were these rat corpses and their flesh was melted and fused together and hardened into a cube. Yeah, Josuke found a rat corpse flesh cube. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. They followed the drainage pipe to a nearby farm, and through the binoculars, Jotaro noticed that there were people inside, and he came to the conclusion that these people might have been killed by the rat. So they go inside the farm and investigate to find the rats. However, they split up because Josuke noticed something off in the kitchen. The refrigerator door was open slightly, and right there was the rat. Josuke tried to call Jotaro, but he already left to the next room, and when he turned around, the rat looked right at Josuke and it was munching on a piece of meat. But it wasn't just any regular piece of meat, it was actually a piece of human flesh. From a blob of melted flesh from the farmer and his wife fused together, and they were still alive inside the fridge. Yeah, that was messed up. I mean, the rats melted this couple and while they're still alive, and it was eating a piece of human flesh. I mean, oh, that's just so gross. But here's the thing, that was censored. Yet the rat corpses, they weren't censored at all. So why was the human flesh censored yet the rat corpses weren't? I guess probably because the melted flesh blob of humans is much more disgusting than rat corpses, maybe. I'm not sure. So Josuke used Crazy Diamond to attack it, which he did manage to land a hit on the rat, but it wasn't fatal enough. And the rat summoned its stand, which turned out to be a cannon that shoots out these needles or darts. And whatever these darts come in contact with, it will melt it with some sort of poison. Josuke did manage to corner it and fired another ball bearing at it, but at the same time, the rat's stand fired the needle towards Josuke. He used Crazy Diamond to block it with a nearby frying pan, and that last shot that he made, it was fatal enough to kill the rat, so it seemed that it was over pretty quickly actually. And all he had to do was just use his stand to fix the couple and they'll be back to normal okay. Jotaro then shows up, enters the kitchen, and reveals to Josuke that it was not over yet. While he was in the next room, he got attacked by another rat stand user. Yep, there was another rat that has the exact same stand as the one that Josuke attacked. Two rats having the exact same stand, appearance-wise and ability-wise. Okay, sure, why not? Why not? Yeah, sure, two rats having the exact same stand, sure. The second rat stand user attacked him and used Star Platinum to grab onto the needle, but the poison was released from the needle, it melting its hand along with Jotaro's own hand, which we see it, but that was censored. But that I can understand why, because it looks very disgusting in the manga. I mean, like, not only because of like the pus like spurting out from the boils on his hand, but also like some of his fingernails were nearly peeled off. It was very disgusting. Although, here's the thing I don't get. I mean, it's clearly obvious that the rat stand has the ability to melt flesh. Why would he use Star Platinum to grab the needle? Because if anything, he should have just dodged, because it's pretty straightforward what its stand ability is, considering what they've discovered earlier. But I guess he wanted to see how this stand really worked, but again, he probably should have dodged. Also, that's the last we see of the couple in the farm. We don't even know if they're healed or not. Most likely they are, but we don't see that. So the question is, why is there another rat stand user? Well, according to the Speedwagon Foundation, Akira lied, and he actually shot 2 rats instead of 1. Why did he lie? I don't know. He's a douche, I guess. And why did he even shoot rats in the first place? Again, I don't know either. Because, like, the thing is with Akira, his motivations were pretty lacking. I mean, the whole reason why he stole the bow and arrow was because he didn't want to have a boring life. I don't know why having an arrow that has the ability to give you a stand would help make his life exciting. I don't know. Maybe he was planning to give other people stands or some shit and he tested it out on rats. I mean, I even checked out the manga and it never explained why 2 rats can have the same stand or why Akira shot rats in the first place. So they have to hunt this other rat, which Jotaro names it Bug-Eaten because of its ear. I didn't get why it was given a name considering that it is gonna die, but yeah, it's called Bug-Eaten. So they followed some tracks made by Bug-Eaten, but they were led at a dead end at this nearby clearing where the tracks ended. It turns out that Bug-Eaten did backtracking and went to this nearby hill, so now the hunters have become the hunted. Yeah, Bug-Eaten is pretty smart, and he traps Josuke and Jotaro. He actually managed to land a hit on Josuke on the neck, but then Jotaro activates Star Platinum the Wild to stop time and remove the needle along with the flesh that was infected by the poison so that Josuke would be okay. Yes, Jotaro finally stops time after 15 episodes. Ever since episode 1. So with the guys cornered, Jotaro came up with a plan. He was going to use himself as a decoy so that Bug-Eaten would attack him. And Josuke would try to find Bug-Eaten's location and attack it using rifle rounds instead of ball bearings. So at first Jotaro does pretty well using Star Platinum to stop time to dodge Bug-Eaten's stand attacks. But again, this rat is pretty smart. So in the second attack, he knew where Jotaro was going to dodge, so he fired at a nearby rock behind him, and some of the needles ricocheted from the rock and hit Jotaro on the arm and on the leg. Meanwhile, Josuke, he was panicking and overwhelmed by all this pressure, considering that he's the only one that can attack the rat because he can't be the decoy and get hit by these attacks because he can't use his stand to heal himself. But despite being overwhelmed by all this pressure, Josuke becomes confident and is determined to hit the rat. So he fires the first shot and he missed. But that was actually his plan to lure out Bug-Eaten from the rocks he was hidden in so that the rat was focused on Josuke and Josuke can get a clear shot at Bug-Eaten, and he lands a direct hit on the rat, killing it instantly. And that was pretty much it, yeah. And overall, it was a pretty straightforward episode, and honestly, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, when I heard that there was going to be a rat stand user and it's gonna be hunted, I just thought that it was just gonna be okay-ish at best, but it was actually pretty good. I did like the interactions between Josuke and Jotaro and how their relationship has developed so far. I like the fact that they were spending time together this time in this episode, you know, because we needed some uncle-nephew bonding after all. And you know, comparing the two, Josuke is definitely opposite compared to Jotaro. I mean, he definitely takes on more of Joseph, his father, than Jotaro in a way, but they both worked pretty well together and Josuke came through in the end. There's some pretty comedic moments during this episode, despite it being serious. Jotaro being straightforward, giving him all this advice and these tasks to the point where Josuke felt overwhelmed with pressure. It was pretty funny. In fact, in one moment when he was feeling a lot of pressure, you can see Crazy Diamond having this sad face. I thought it was funny and kind of adorable. Animation and artwork was surprisingly good. I mean, there were moments where the far shots looked a bit off, but when it comes to like the close-ups and the details of the faces, they were very well defined. In fact, some of the character designs have more bolder outlines. Josuke was out with his badass pose, holding the binoculars sideways, getting ready to shoot another round at Bug-Eaten. I thought that was pretty cool. I did have a problem with the censorship though, but I can understand why some of it was censored. But the thing is, when you see Jotaro's limbs getting melted, they were censored, yet when Jotaro gets melted even further again, that wasn't censored. So like, why did those parts have to be censored? I'm not sure, but yeah. censorship was meh, okay to me, but it still kind of bugged me in a way. As for the rats themselves, I was actually surprised of how dangerous they were. I mean, their stand has the ability to melt flesh by shooting these needles out of a cannon, which, by the way, is the second weapon-like stand that we've gotten, the first one being Emperor. The rats and the stand itself, I thought they were interesting and dangerous. It's too bad that they couldn't like capture it and research more on why these two rats can have the same stand, but I guess not. So why can these two rats have the same stand? I did come up with some theories. I assumed that they were probably twins, or they were like related or something. That's why they had the exact same stand. Or maybe Akira shot both the rats at the same time and that allowed them to awaken the stand, which, by the way, its name was never mentioned in the episode or in the manga, I believe. But from what I found out, the stand's name is Rat with 2 T's. 2 rats having a stand called Rat. This was named after a band after all, but really? I mean, I don't judge stands by their names, but it's just kind of weird to me, but okay, whatever. Anyway, if it wasn't for those 2 theories, then maybe the other theory would have been that this was a type of stand that can like transfer to another stand user or something, like Anubis, but Anubis was a wild type stand, and there was a similar case like this back in part 3 with Dio having Hermit Purple like Joseph, and the World and Star Platinum having the same ability, but that was because Joseph had Jonathan's body. So I was actually told by Weeaboss, thank you by the way for letting me know and clearing up some confusion, that this was a type of stand that can be shared by more than one person if their bond, if their connection is very strong enough. So because of that, they can have the same stand, and if one of them dies, the stand would still exist with the other. So this is like a whole new type of stand that were introduced, yet it was never really explained clearly in the manga, because this is the only type of stand we're introduced until way later on in part 7 Steel Ball Run, because I was told that there are like 2 other types of stands like this in part 7. Yeah, I kind of wish we got more information about this new type of stand in the manga and in the episode itself. Speaking of the manga, I actually took the liberty of reading this arc right after I watched the episode, and oh my god, there was a lot of dialogue references and even more comedic scenes that were left out in the episode. For example, there was a moment when Josuke said, "A rat? You mean like Mickey Mouse?" I probably would have laughed and facepalmed at the same time if that was animated, because that is like Okuyasu level stupidity. No offense to Okuyasu, but yeah, it was pretty dumb and funny. And there was another scene when Josuke took off his shoes and socks because he didn't want to get them wet when they were like walking across the pond or something. He said that his shoes and socks were expensive, and when he dropped them, he was upset and he made this face where his eyes bulged out, which was really weird. And he had more inner thoughts that made the scenes more funny, but those were unfortunately cut out, and I was a bit disappointed in that. As for the episode itself, it honestly felt like filler to me. Like this was a break episode that needed to develop their bond between Josuke and Jotaro, which I get, which makes this the 3rd one, because the last 2 was the Invisible Baby one and the Tonio episode, because those had little to nothing to do with the main plot. Despite this, you know, like giving us some official closure to Akira, but aside from that, that was pretty much it. And of course, we finally get Jotaro stopping time again, which he hasn't done that since episode 1. I was wondering when we're ever going to see Jotaro using the world again, when he was ever going to stop time, but he finally did that in this episode against the rat. Yeah. And the cool thing is that they changed the sound effect. We still get the clock ticking backwards whenever time stops, but at the beginning there's this like scratching sound instead of like that boom sound effect that whenever Dio uses the world. And this ability was given a new name called Star Platinum the World. I'm still bummed out that Jotaro can only stop time for like 2 seconds. The very first time we saw him stop time, it was like for 5 seconds. But I was told it was because the older he gets, the weaker the time stop gets. because Dio actually trained constantly on using the world, and because of his vampirism, he was able to stop time for 5 seconds, no problem, and even longer. Jotaro didn't stop time ever since the first time he used it, and he didn't train with his stand. And if he did stop time longer, then it would cause him serious strain to his body, even his heart. So yeah, he can't stop time much longer because he got older. It's a bit of a bummer, really, but then again, it's just like with Joseph and Hamon back in part 3. So yeah, unfortunately, Star Platinum the World got nerfed. It's a bummer, but it can't be helped, I guess. Although, I do have another question. In this scene, Josuke gets his fingers trapped on a mousetrap, and it was the same mousetrap that they set up earlier at the drain. One, why didn't they notice that one of their traps was missing? And two, how the hell did Bug Eaten bring a mousetrap at this location? I mean, did he carry it? Or did he use his stand to carry it? Because he couldn't have dragged it because there were no tracks hinting that there was an object being brought along by Bug Eaten, unless having a stand allowed the rats to get super strength or some shit. I don't know. Anyway, overall, I thought this episode was better than I thought it was gonna be. It was good. There were parts that did bug me, but I still did enjoy the episode nonetheless. So the next episode is called Rohan Kishibe's Adventure. So Rohan's coming back! Surprisingly, because I thought he was gonna be gone for a little while longer, but no, he's coming back. Okay. Does that mean that Koichi's coming back too? Because, you know, they do kind of have a connection or something, but yeah. Rohan-centric episode in episode 17. Don't know what it's gonna be about, but hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully Rohan will be less creepy than his debut, because seriously, he was creepy in his debut. So anyway, tell me what you guys think about this episode of Diamonds Unbreakable. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think about the rats and the stand itself? And what did you think of the teamwork between Josuke and Jotaro? And do you have any thoughts, ideas, any theories as to why Akira shot 2 rats with the arrow and why these 2 rats have the exact same stand? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like it, and subscribe to more videos, and be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, that was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, episode 16. I'm Lunar 27, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.